Hello, guys! Boa tarde, Brasil! Tudo bem com vocês? Bom, hoje é o nosso quarto Women Community in Privacy. A nossa convidada muito especial hoje é a Isabel Barberá. Ela vai explicar, assim, a gente vai tentar fazer essa talk em inglês, talvez tenha algumas partes em espanhol, tá? A gente vai estar falando de inteligência artificial, né, os desafios aí de regulação, impactos, riscos, como é que a gente tenta, né, fazer um balanço, né, de regulação, risco, impacto, que controles, que ferramentas que a gente pode adotar para ter um melhor equilíbrio disso, né? Então, vai ficar em inglês, I'm sorry, se desculpem, mas eu vou tentar fazer algumas traduções, peço que vocês enviem perguntas no chat, que aí eu posso fazer a pergunta em inglês e eu posso ajudar com a tradução para vocês. Quem tiver recurso de legenda, não sei se o YouTube já liberou um recurso de legenda, de tradução de legenda simultânea, seria uma boa, vocês podem tentar isso. Eu vou deixar a Isabel se apresentar, vou fazer agora essa pequena introdução em inglês. Hi, Isabel. Glad to meet you here. We thank you. First, thank you to your time. I know that it's 10 p.m. in Netherlands, so thank you. Please, you are special in this panel, our special panelist in this time. So please tell us, introduce yourself for our audience here, and tell about your experience, your work with AI. So please, it's your time.
Hola, no estoy segura de qué idioma debo hablar, pero puedo por lo menos introducirme en español. Sí, muchas gracias por la invitación. Creo que en portugués, obrigado por estar aquí. Sí, yo tengo, me dedico a dar asesoría en temas de inteligencia artificial, pero también en privacidad de datos y en seguridad. Es algo que llevo haciendo ya muchos años. No estoy segura qué más. ¿Quieres que me introduzca un poco así de lo que he hecho en el pasado?
Sí, tu experiencia en la área de IA, que tienes trabajado.
Okay, I will tell all that in English.
In English, okay.
Yes, I can make maybe a short translation afterwards. But though I was born in Spain, that's important that everybody knows that because of my name too. But I am really long in the Netherlands, and I'm not really used to talk about work things in Spanish. It's easier for me to do this in English. Well, the thing is that really long ago, I'm not so young anymore, I did studies in computational linguistics and automated translation. So it's even for me really funny to see now what is going on with ChatGPT and the large language models. But from there, I jumped into software development, security, and with the years into privacy, involved in AI, big data projects, especially during long time, especially the years that I worked for IBM. And since I think more or less 2017, more really involved in especially machine learning projects, put it like that. Now it's all called AI, but well, really complex AI. We have not seen so far too many of this. I think one of the most sensitive projects I've been working on was the one that you might have heard is the Dutch child care benefits scandal. I think that happened in the Netherlands a few years ago, when the one algorithm that was used in the tax office to decide which parents could get benefits. So when you bring your child to the daycare, you can get some part of the cost from the government. And well, that algorithm was discriminating. Seems based on nationality, and one of my assignments was to analyze that algorithm, to go through the whole process write a data privacy impact assessment and come with a list of risk mitigation measures. And yeah, that was a really big thing. I mean, in fact, the government abdicated after that. So it was a really, really big scandal in the country. And I think that is why in the Netherlands, we are so eager to do things now correctly and to avoid discrimination when we are building AI systems, especially at the government side, of course. Yeah, with the years, I've been doing a lot of research, also really focused on risks. All can go wrong, like I always say, threat modeling, what can go wrong really with AI.
Modeling.
And that's why I came eventually to the creation of something we will talk later about that is my tool called Plot for AI. Maybe if you want, I can translate a little bit into Spanish what I just said.
No. I will try explain for the audience that you talk about your experience, but I'm going to the first question about your experience in ENISA, right? Because people really don't understand what is ENISA, how you can work with ENISA, or what kind of work you do when you belongs to ENISA, like a researcher or I don't know. Advisor. Please try explain about this, because people think that when we talk about AI, you just need the lawyer or developer. No.
Yeah, and my work for ENISA is not. So I do some work related to AI too, but it's basically data privacy engineering. Data protection engineering. So I am part of a working group of experts that we were selected, not sure, I think 1.5 years ago. And what we do is to together write guidance specific related to data protection engineering. The last guidance we released was about data sharing. Now we are working on data spaces, so we have different kind of assignments according to the different needs. ENISA, for the ones in the audience that don't know what it is, it's a European agency, the European Agency for Cybersecurity, and it's an advisory group for agency for the European Commission. It has different working groups, and of course you can work there as well as contractor, as ENISA really employee, but I am as external advisor, part of a working group, and that works in a different way. So it's really ad hoc work. So in Europe, for the European Commission and the different agencies, you can just work ad hoc. So sometimes you get to work on a guidance, to review some projects. So that's basically what I personally do for ENISA.
All right, good. It's important to know that ENISA have importance to educate and regulate about AI and data protection, privacy laws in Europe, right?
Yeah. We release a lot of tools and we try to really reach everybody. So not only the big organizations, but also SMEs, startups, so everybody that has a needs. I know I'm not part of these working groups, but I know other colleagues have been working on a specific toolbox that can really facilitate awareness and yeah, the field of cybersecurity is really big. So yes, I would say have a look at their website because they have really interesting tools there.
Good. And about your experience as AI data protection and privacy expert in the European Data Protection Board, what you can talk about this experience?
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been selected as being part of the expert pool from the EDPB. So when you are part of the expert pool, you can be called to work on certain projects, and that's where I'm working myself now. Also, I'm involved in a project there, so I cannot tell because of confidentiality what I'm really working about, but it could be different type of analysis, advice work, research, wherever that at that time the authority is in need for.
For example, the AI Act, you start this work very early, right? You have working groups, right? Researching groups before the act, right?
Yeah, well, the act is not approved yet, but yeah, we are years discussing, lobbying, and debating. And anyways, it's of course 27 countries that need to agree on something. So that's complicated when you're in Europe to really reach agreement about something. So the regulatory process, the legislative process is quite complex. And AI is also a complex thing. I mean, the EDPB, anyways, of course, is more focused on privacy and data protection, fundamental rights. So it's not only AI. If you are part of the expert pool from the EDPB, you could be called for other type of work. So maybe some people could be working, I don't know, in cookies or in any other things. In my case, because of my expertise, especially in AI, well, I've been called for this. But it's a bit like I always say, I get sometimes the question, how do you work for the European Commission as expert? You can just you can go to their website and you can just inscribe yourself. I mean, you inscribe yourself, you go to a process, and when you fit the profile for certain needs, then they call you, or you participate in a call. So, and for some things, like for instance in ENISA, you are selected from a lot of people, and then you are part of that specific working group. For working as expert for the European Commission, you can just register in the website. So it's a lot of people can do that. So it's no secret there. So please do that. And I think there are.
I will try this. I will try this because in Brazil nobody listens to me. So I will try this.
Then come here and try. Yes.
But about the AI Act in Europe, what do you think that the main challenge now? We know that in end of June they approve, but not approve totally, but they have one approval, but you need one more, I think so, the Lord's Chamber or something like this.
Yeah, the council. Yeah, we are. Of course, it went through the approval from the parliament, but we still we have the trilogue, and things can change still. So so the text is not definitive yet. So yeah, we are still waiting. There's things that are really that are essential, like the definition of AI. That I know there's still discussions about that. So yeah, the negotiations are still there, and we hope that at the end of the year, beginning next year, hopefully they have reached an agreement and it's published, and we can all have a better understanding of what is going to happen. Though in principle, I don't expect the text will change a lot anymore, but yeah, it's not there yet.
Yes, I read the text, how we talked before the webinar. And I compare with the Brazilian law because I see the evolution, the Brazilian law, and I have my concerns about Brazil. But one thing caught my attention in the European law is the definition about what is AI, the concept. AI is a system. So you think this point, the description of the concept, it's maybe can change? This is the big challenge now, or the big challenge is the part of the law that you handling, or you need handling or address the risks? Because I see the right risk, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. What do you think the main point more challenge about the law?
Well, I think, for instance, the definition, it is challenging because some semantics that you could use in the text could have a lot of impact. Something I say like the fact that if you are, I mean, or you can go really broad, or you can really be more specific, and then you are not covering all the systems and not covering all the risks that you want to cover. So there's also concepts like the concept of autonomy. There's discussions about that. The autonomy should be part of the definition. Autonomy systems with some elements of autonomy or with some type of autonomy. I personally find that a bit, tricky, in the sense that autonomy might also mean, eventually not accountability, of human accountability. I mean, if we are only including systems that are kind of autonomous, but not automated, but really with autonomy, then if something happens, like the example I was mentioning about the Dutch benefit scandal, that was not really an autonomous system. So then those systems maybe would not be part of the wouldn't be regulated. But they are really difficult concepts. I mean, the concept, like I mentioned before, the concept of autonomy, you could really be thinking, well, but in the moment you are doing a prediction that you do it, the system does it by itself, so we could consider that some kind of autonomy. Others will say, well, that's not really autonomy. So that it is difficult to really reach a consensus with certain parts of the text. I think the part of the risks that you mentioned is better defined, and then there's just the fine tuning of certain elements, especially the ones related to law enforcement. And you know that civil society is also fighting for the rights, the defense of fundamental rights. That is also what especially I really defend too. And it's important that the right systems are regulated. But it's difficult. It's a technology that keeps evolving. So it's difficult to regulate in a way that it's going to be completely okay and cover everything.
You touch on the point that I discuss here in Brazil, because people make mistakes about when we talk about autonomy, autonomous, automation, and intelligence. It's a different concepts, and we cannot ignore these concepts, because if we ignore this in practice, we will make mistakes.
Yes.
We will not regulate in the proper or in the best way as possible, because we confuse about what means be intelligent or have intelligence, and what means have autonomous or automatic system. It's not the same thing.
It is not the same. That's why in regulation, the semantics is really important to avoid regulatory uncertainty. And that's what I still personally find in the text, that some parts are still not clear enough.
This part I'm missing this part in the law. They need to define what means. Before I define in artificial intelligence, we need to define what we consider intelligence, because you just put some like a chatbot or something to answer questions. Maybe you don't have intelligence. You just have a bank of questions and answers, and you just follow the keywords and give a possible answer according to the match.
There's a lot of discussions also about the meaning of intelligence, the meaning of autonomy, of self-conscious. I mean, there's a lot of research going on. There's not really answers yet about that. For me personally, I try to be a bit more practical. I think when you work with AI, I mean, we cannot forget that we still have data protection regulation. So especially when you work with personal data, it should not really make a big difference. And you still need to have your data governance in place, do your risk assessment, and do your due diligences, like we have with the GDPR in Europe, for instance, or like you have also with your new data protection law. I think that that's already a really important tool that we have there that we should use, and we tend to forget that.
Yes, I think this is the most important part of the law, because when we talk about AI, people forget this AI is really not intelligent. They learn with our data. So because this is so important, we put the limits, we put the borders, because they cannot developer AI and cross the border or break the rules, right? I think that
it's a tool eventually, and of course it can see things that we cannot see with our human's eyes, but it doesn't have to be right on what you find there, and it's important that we keep that in mind. And eventually, in my experience, even worse than the AI in itself is the whole process from beginning till end that we also tend to forget. So blaming the tool is easy, but in my experience, most of the times goes just, we are ourselves the ones maybe not doing, not taking the right decisions, starting certain projects, or not being, taking the right measures, monitoring measures, or wherever we will need to implement to avoid certain risks using outputs of certain applications.
Usually, I said when I have been a career inside the IT technology. I'm not so young. I like a teenager, but I'm not. Okay, I'm just like a baby face, but I'm not. But I was in the beginning, in the middle of my career. I work with quality assurance, like a tester inside the software development life cycle. And when I compare the life cycle, when we talk about machine learning, deep learning, and this is the base for develop a AI product or system. So I think that the in my vision, we have a difference, right? Usually, when we develop a software, normal, common software, we test just to ensure that the feature works, right? We test to ensure that this is a calculator, so this calculator need calculate. So we need we make tests about
Your test
plus,
script.
subtraction.
Yes,
Yes, you.
exactly.
When we talk about AI, it's the approach. It's a little different. The
Yeah,
tests.
it is different. It is different, and of course, you still need to test and to validate. And with if you are doing the right thing, you do it. You left some data for doing your test. That doesn't happen always. But of course, you also need to test at some point your model. The model needs to go into production, and that is different. I mean, once you're facing all the data, the data that the real data, where the context is where things could change. So what I also see, it's the, I mean, if you work in AI projects and you have the development life cycle, that of course every organization you different, but like using the Eclipse EM, for instance, I mean, of course you have your phases where you are collecting data, where you are cleaning.
Yes.
I see nowadays a bit more maturity in some organizations.
Yes.
You also see that now we have more roles. The data engineer, the machine learning engineer. Before was just data analyst or data scientist, doing what they didn't like, but cleaning data and the rest and preparing it. And now it's good to see. Well, the field is getting more mature, slowly, but it's getting more mature.
Yes.
And yeah, like
You test.
and it's different than when you do just software development. But and I also see where, for instance, when you do threat modeling, I mean, it's creating a data flow diagram from a software that more or less you have in mind what you want to design. You know about the architecture. You know much more things than when you are just building an AI system. You are just in the beginning busy what you want to achieve, and you don't really have the structure to build a data flow diagram in a lot of cases. There's also much less interest, maybe awareness about like what we look in security, when you look at threats with integrations with other systems, for instance. That's something that tends to be really easy for Warren when you were with in a data scientist team. It's more about what you want to achieve your experiments, people call it like that, but you don't really think in all the rest. If you are back in your you have backups of your models, if you are how are you protecting your training data, who has access to it. So all those things are often forgotten. But I see improvement. So I must say that since last year, suddenly, I think maybe because of the ChatGPT boom, suddenly a lot of people got more conscious that, well, things can go wrong here. So we need to take more care. And I get also more questions about that. In the beginning, like when I published my tool last year, I mean, there are a few security threats, but you could see that in practice, a lot of people didn't care about that.
Yes.
Didn't think about that's what can also happen that with machine learning. Yes, can happen.
And you touch in the point, the main point right now about the risks and impacts when we talk about this approach, about the life cycle, the risk inside the life cycle, and after when we put the system in operation. Because when you put the operations, you have more impacts than risks because you put in the operation. So the risk will materialize or not. Depends if you embed the privacy principles, the security principles, and
Yeah,
you put the fencing
mitigated.
depth. You have a good product in operation. But if you not embedded this in your pipeline or in your cycle, wherever, you put impacts for the people.
Yeah.
What do you think these main risks in terms of security and privacy? What the main risks that you see beyond this,
Yeah.
the text and this?
Well, I see. Of course, a lot of attention goes to discrimination, bias and discrimination. Because if you I mean, I know there's this database from AI incidents, so you already see things that are happening there. So it's not just like magic that doesn't happen. Things are happening, but I think that probably being discriminated or the systems getting certain errors that could have some legal impact, or in any case, big impact on you as individual, could be from the bigger impact that I can imagine for what I've seen so far. Of course, you could also not being properly informed. Those things that we see nowadays, the lack of transparency, so that also could cause manipulation, kind of manipulative behaviors, wanted or unwanted, but that could make you as individual also take certain decisions. We could see that with recommended systems, for instance. So if there's not enough transparency about why you get this specific recommendation, maybe you don't have the autonomy, your self-autonomy to decide about certain things. So of course that could have impact in certain people, but you could say a really big impact, a system that discriminates, and especially if it comes from the government, for instance. I go back then to the into the Dutch benefits government. That case really, really big. So when you are your system is taking really important decisions, that could really affect a lot of people. I think those are probably why there are also high risk systems.
Yes, one thing, one point that you touched and you mentioned in the beginning about the government use about AI system. I think that the government is in any country, doesn't matter what country we talk about, the government is the big data about the everybody inside the country, even the immigration. So when I see the impacts, the why they consider higher risk inside the law, this gives me some peace, or some more peaceful, but not so much, because this is my concern: discrimination when you use this data and compare and combine and make decisions, and people even don't know that you combine all this data to accept or not one immigration request, or one financial aid for one person inside the government. So for me, this is the bigger concern about the restrictions, the constraints or restriction that we need to put, right?
Yeah, it's and not having, of course, not having the information, but also not having a what we call a redress mechanism, a way to complain. Like I always say, it's not just having a way to complain, but that the complaint is also effectively solved and in a fair way. Because you could be filing complaints, but if still nothing is going to be solved, or nobody knows why the system has decided this or that. So then you go back to the explainability, the fairness. So I think all the concepts are tied up all together. So I think we cannot be one without the other, without creating a big impact in the individual. So and that's why it's not only the system in itself, that the system is biased, the data is biased. You decide also yourself what type of eventually your metrics and how much you want to your data to be biased, depending on certain situations. Sometimes you have law restrictions. I mean, there's also immigration law, and you need to fulfill with certain rules, and we tend to forget that. So, but it should be also really explicit. I mean, it should be really clear. For instance, why you are selected for this. And in cases if it's like rule basis, of course, much more easy. But in the moment you are touching upon different variables that are not clear and transparent, and then you don't know why, or getting information from other systems, and you are not aware of that, then then we have a problem. Yeah.
And we have the next question. This is: do you think how is possible to develop AI in a fair way or in a safe way for the people, for the fundamental rights, the civil rights? How we can develop AI that not damage, not cause damage or serious injuries for the civil rights, for the privacy of the person? What do you think?
I think it's you never know. It's like I always say, you
In
can
the end
even
of the day, yes.
at the end of the day, you have to keep monitoring and be accountable, responsible, and keeping an eye on what you do. I think that one of the most important steps from the beginning is to think, what am I doing here? Do I really, when you are building a system, at least to think, do I really need to do this? Can I achieve this in a different way, and not always go to the easy of, oh, how cool, let's do this experiment and let's see. Because like I always say in my projects, what are we really going to achieve with this output? Okay? Really nice, we get a nice overview, true or not true, but then what do we want to do after that with this? So what type of interventions, what type of steps, actions do you want to implement? And can you really implement that? Do you have the enough resources? So there's a lot of thinking that you need to do when you work with AI systems. And I miss that often in practice, I must say. Of course, you need to do your decides about your metrics. You need to keep doing your tests. You need to keep monitoring. That's the only way, and keep doing and not just building and production and forget about that. In my experience, when you can keep, you can do like bias test, but still you don't have warranty. So you need to keep an eye on that and monitoring, something that we also tend to forget. But a good monitoring system, a good fallback incident protocol, whatever, all these things that we have in a more mature cybersecurity systems, for instance, we should also have when working with AI. Be prepared when something goes on. Let users, you could impact users, that users come back to you with proper feedback. Hey, this is I could be affected by this, so I've seen this, and keep monitoring that, and then keep fine tuning your models or whatever you have to do there to change it.
And we touch in the next point. This is it. We need the law will try enforce, right? Enforce the people developer AI in a proper way, in a safe way, in a fair way. So how we can ensure this? What kind of tools or measures or process that you see or do you have in mind that, oh, if we start for this and follow this process or this step, or we establish the minimum requirements, this minimum requirement it's embedded in the system, we can in the end have the accountability, show that we develop with privacy by design, security, etc., etc. We respect the personal data, we respect the human development. So what do you think?
I think one of the most important things is structure and knowledge of what you have and what you are doing. So that brings me more to probably data governance, your quality and controls, things that I don't see so often as I would like in the field of AI. Knowing what you are doing, having the right approval processes in place, it really helps to stop things that could go out of control. And that also implies that during the process, you have certain moments where you are evaluating the values that, for instance, certain values that could come together with what you want to build, your solution. You have at some point you go through your ethical principles. I mean, there's a lot of frameworks for that, so I cannot point out to one or two. Of course, I use my projects. Depends on what I'm doing, but mostly I base myself on the EU ethical principles. But the OECD has also nice principles. I believe the Brazilian AI bill, the draft, is also based or in the OECD principles. I thought. So those are, of course, the only thing with that is that they're really high level. Like I always say, when you work, you need to bring that to yourself. So I have my tools for doing that. For instance, I use an ethical matrix. Something has been also recommended by Cathy O'Neill, for instance. So they are really nice tools to think when you are developing who's going to be the stakeholders that could be affected, because we also tend to forget that. So if you want to prevent risks, you need to try to at least do the effort to think who could really be affected by the system I'm building. And that not only for AI, I mean, that could also be for any other system. And we also tend to forget about that.
Yes.
But given the possibilities of bigger impact of AI, it's a really good exercise. Then that also helps you to know who should you invite to your threat modeling session. So threat modeling is something that I always use to think what can go wrong. And well, for that, I developed my tool that I will tell something about that now. And of course, this what I also see especially the last year, there's a bombarding of frameworks and everything available. So I try to go through all what gets to me and analyze it and extract the best of it. And then depending on the project I am, then you have to use different tools, different practices. It also depends on the culture of your organization. You cannot apply the same to a government organization, where I often work for Dutch government projects. But if you work for a startup, it's a completely different environment. There's different tooling that they use in different environments, so you cannot implement the same maybe hard rules there. So you need to be realistic and adapt to the culture, to the organization, trying to at least cover the most important risks. So it's risk-based approach. tooling the same. There's a lot of open source Python libraries to check for bias, for explainability. So it also depends on what you are building. It's not the same check system. If you are doing some computer vision or NLP than if you are just doing some simple statistics, machine learning. So it really depends on what you are doing. But this, I must say that it's lastly overwhelming. It's really welcome or it's coming available, or it's sometimes overwhelming. Pity there's not like a filter there, because a lot of things are like repeated, but it's a lot of things being published. So we need to take a break, continue, see what we can get from the bets from where it comes.
We need to establish the baseline, right? We need try give a overview of the whole process, the steps, the phases of the process, and try see like a more closer each step or phase, and try analyze the risks and the measures that you can insert in this point. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I've wanted to do all the time. When you implement privacy by design, that's something I've always done also in that way, based on the development life cycle. And with AI, that was also my struggle years ago, when in projects, you see it's different, of course, than normal software. So when you want to go through different phases, checking the risk and what risks, because so many things can go wrong. So it was also really overwhelming. And that's why when I started my research, and I thought, just for myself, I just want to have a list of threats, of things that can go wrong, so it can help me to guide the threat modeling sessions, to really see, like we do in security, like with Stride. Of course, it's not the same being the mentality of the attacker and try to defend your system. With AI, there's a lot of different things that can go wrong, not only from the security side, but like we were talking before, with manipulation of your system could manipulate, of I don't know, like if your system could be used by children, like we have seen with this system, with the replica system, that there's a chatbot for when you feel alone or something like that. I don't remember. But I know that the Italian data protection supervisor banned the system for a while because it was not.
I see the news. Yes.
So those are things that you are developing a tool that could have a big impact. So those are things you could think on beforehand. You should think on beforehand. It really helps you to rework, to eventually be banned and stuff like that. So then this is when I came with the idea of building my library of threads, and that eventually became like another child. So I've been for 3 years, more than 3 now, because I published it last year after 3 years of research. And when I finished my research, like I said, I built it for myself, for my clients, and then I thought, this is so cool. I think everybody should use this. So I decided to build a website and publish it open source. So and it's something I keep updating. I brought it now to my company. I have a consultancy firm, the partner, and some college. And of course, I cannot do everything by myself. It's a community-driven project, but still, I'm really dedicated to it. So the moment I see a new framework, a new security threat, I want to update everything.
I see. And your tool in your website caught my attention, because you make some questions and you give some like control points or best practice to establish the security measures, right? To try avoid this.
To help you think, because something that I always saw in well, you can see this in a lot of projects, development projects, not only AI, but especially with AI, it took so long always. These discussions about you had the data scientists are already building their stuff, and the business owners, they're discussing, the product owners, the stuff. It's not really clear They don't understand very well what the system could achieve, what you could get out of that. And in the meantime, you have the technical teams already experimenting things, but you need to reach consensus to really understand what do we really want to build here. And especially if you need to, the system needs to comply with certain rules, like being explainable, for instance. So that will already ban certain type of algorithms. So that's why the reason why I did plot fair in that way. I thought if every thread is a question, and then it's a game, and for that I based myself in Lindung. So I don't know if you know Lindung, but it's a privacy threat modeling tool, and it was created.
I never see before Lindung. No, I don't know the Lindung, but I see your tool and I like the approach. I like.
It's Lindum is a similar approach. Like in threat modeling, there's also other card games and other tools similar with library of threads, and then you go through all the threads with a card game. But what I did with Plot for AI was really every thread change it into a question that could help us as development team to really think, hey, could this really happen to us? And then immediately, the game gives you already the answer. If the question is, the answer is yes or no, then you already know, well, I might have here eventually a risk, so I might be at risk. So, and when you go out of the session, you always come with a list of threats. Then you need to start working on that. So you can put it into Jira, and then we start working to that to solve it. So it's really, really interesting how it works. It also helps to kill projects really soon. So that's really it's painful sometimes, but after months of discussions, you go through certain cards and you realize, wow, that is really a problem, and what we are building is not what we should be building. So immediately there's a stop in the project, and then now you have to go back to the drawing table. So those are the nice things of Plot for AI. That really is an eye opener, and it's now internationally recognized. I don't even know. A lot of people is using it worldwide, but I don't even know. I hope one day they send me more feedback and things. I keep updating it. We keep in my company now updating it, and we have now a Slack group. So with volunteers, we are now translating it into Spanish, and yeah, we keep doing a lot of things with it. So it keeps evolving. It's nice.
I think this is a good point.
Show you the box.
Ah, the book.
So you can see it's quite thick.
Yes.
So, and it contains all the cards. They're big also.
Oh, we can buy this and try bring this mindset about threat modeling to the team.
Yeah, but what I've done, because Plot for AI for me is not a profit business, so I ask for some boxes to print and I sell them for the same price I got it. So I never have benefit out of it. But what I've done is to put all online. So the cards are also online, so you can print them. And the tool is also online, an assessment tool, so you don't even have to use the cards if you don't want. Because when we use it remote, then we cannot really use the cards. So we do it with the remote, with the website option.
Yes.
So I've tried to facilitate together with my partner. We like, it's a bit of a passion, a hobby. So we build a website, we build a game, and like I say, it's really helpful. So like I say, just try to use it. I know a lot of companies, even big companies, are really using it.
It's very useful because today I see many initiatives in Brazil, and even they consider this threat modeling. For example, they see we will use the API of ChatGPT. I said, oh, you sure that you use the API, ChatGPT API? Yes, but what kind of data you will use to consume this API? Oh, sensitive data. what the hell? No. Stop the project. No. Calm down. Take it easy.
Yeah.
Please let me know more about this, how this works, what kind of API you are connect, what kind of controls do you have here? Because
Exactly.
we have a big problem. I don't know if you have the same, but people usually do not understand the difference between anonymization and pseudonymization.
Yeah.
They usually make a big mess. So they said, but the data it's anonymized. I said, let me see. Do you have a key to undo this, to revert the data? Yes, but it's in another instance. Okay, but you don't have anonymization.
Yeah, key management is the in this sense is always an issue. Key management, and of course the fact that data is maybe aggregated but that's not anonymized. So it's always that discussion, and like you said, the fact that threat modeling is becoming more. The thing is that I'm really an advocate of threat modeling. For me, it's something so. In term from us, I mean, it's something that as humans we are constantly doing. We're all the time in real life questioning ourselves: should I do this? Should I buy this? Should I buy that more expensive? Should I? I mean, we don't even think about that unconsciously, but we're doing it all the time. So this is the same. You just go through the questioning if something could go wrong, but you don't do it alone. You do it with different expertises, and that's what really helps. That's different with threat modeling, with the security. Sometimes, especially if you are looking at something really technical, you might need some team that have a much technical background. Though I find really beneficial always to have somebody with a different background. But in the case of AI, it's really beneficial to have different type of stakeholders in this type of sessions. Of course, when you look at the security threats in AI, I must say they can be quite technical, and some of them even at academic level. So it's sometimes not nice to have other people because they don't understand anything. But so there's probably there are sections often you do that apart, to say. But when you are going like with plot for AI, through the cards, through the threads related to ethics and human rights, or some of the other, even the technical cards, it's good to have other people to realize, well, yeah, this could really go wrong. So
I
yeah,
think this is approach. I like the approach because in the end of the day, we have problems here to people understand one thing. One main point about the privacy laws. In Brazil, I don't know if this kind of situation happens in Europe. I hope that not, because you have more years about privacy culture, studies, research. But here, in some place, people change the privacy by design principles in policy. And I said, oh my God, what a hell. What did you doing with this? No, please, no, don't do this. Please have in mind the first thing when we think about the proactive, not be reactive, positive functionality, positive feature. So we talk about this. I cannot offer a product and to like make a exchange between you give me your privacy and I give you a product. No, you need offer privacy by default. It's a principle inside privacy by design. You need give a product with good settings, good controls about the privacy. You need give to the user or your data subject the control about your data. It's not because you offer a product you have ownership or you are the owner about the data. No. You just have the code and the product.
yeah, it goes together with the principle of trust. I mean,
Yes.
for me, I think any company that is not implementing privacy by default even if it's an option, it's already for me a way to think, well, probably you want me not to see that this setting is here and I could change it. So if you don't do that for me, then probably you still want my data. So, and I understand. I mean, I understand that the companies need data, but of course, that's not transparent.
Yes, it's look like everything it's to sell. It's look like everything to sell. No. We need to establish the borders, the limits here in this relationship. So
but then we have the issue with enforcement, I think, because that's something we also see in Europe. I mean, I think internationally, but like for instance with cookies, I personally see since last year an increase in dark patterns and really
dark partners,
infringement.
yes.
It's incredible. It's even worse since last year. So I don't know if everybody's trying to collect data to feed their models. I don't know what's going on, but it's after. That doesn't matter what is going on at regulatory level. It's still happening, and despite the case law that appears, they keep doing it. There's not enough enforcement. It's pretty unfortunate. Also, not enough awareness, despite all what is there. Still, web developers keep building websites in this way with this frameworks that they use without realizing, wow, I'm collecting here everything. And even when you click no, I'm still collecting everything. So I don't know if you have done that, but
they collect if you give your consent or not, they will collect. Right?
Yeah, that's why it's really annoying.
Doesn't matter what I talk, what I choose, they will collect. So why do you ask me if you're not really giving me the right?
I think I have like a second job that is to send emails to these companies. Hey, you are still collecting. Hey, you are.
I have one big with Google. I don't know why they really. I give a model about. I give a class in Brazil. I made a class in Brazil in an institution about privacy by design, and I show the dark partners. And I show, see, this is a good partner to privacy. They give information to you. They give. Do you have retention? What time? The retention time. You can choose what time they will store your data or not. You can choose the country, because I see that Google changed this policy. You can move the country, okay? But they have a very, very, very bad behavior when we talk about our cell phones. Because you have the same Google account, your email, you have a Google account. But when you log in the website and use your account, for example, the advertisements are blocked. In my case, are blocked. I block everything. Personalized advertisement block. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
But when I bought a new cell phone and put my Google email to make the login, they create automatically a personal identification to associate my cell phone and my Google account and my advertisement ID. But I disabled these. Why in my cell phone these are enabled by default, and you don't respect that? In my accounting, I said that I don't want the advertisement. People don't see this because I show this in my class for my students, but I show for the look in the site. They have a one behavior. In your cell phone, they have other, and the proof of this is that when we talk about something, when you take your phone, you see the advertisement, because they never stop to listen to you.
Yeah, you need to deactivate your phone to everything. That's true. Yeah.
So they ignore privacy by default. They ignore the some privacy by design principles.
Yeah, or just a bunch of engineers forgot to do the right setting. I mean, let's be honest, if we know how things work in real life, it's not everything so perfect. Probably by Google also not.
Yeah, so
But
I think
anyways,
that your
I
approach
agree.
is very good, because when we start with the cards or like a steps, oh, this treat model, its approach to avoid or identify and treat the risks, not just the treat, but
Yeah.
we can think this treat like a risk. We can think this treat like a security control or measure that we need to define
Yeah.
in the development life cycle, or inside the tool or the software, to avoid this. So
Yeah.
I really like this. I really want that people change their mind about treat modeling.
Me too.
Think that no,
But
no, no,
I think we need to change the name. I have the feeling, at least in the
risk
security
modeling.
world,
No, I don't
I
know.
think modeling is. I think modeling is the scary word in my experience, especially in the privacy field, because yeah, you deal mostly with legal professionals, and then threat modeling sounds a bit like, what is that? Computer or something? What is that exactly? So it's difficult to understand, and I have to explain eventually. Well, eventually it's like it's a mindset eventually to think yourself what can go wrong with threat modeling. You can use libraries like Plot4AI, like Stripe, like Linjun, so that really helps you, so you don't have to be hours thinking what can go wrong. No, you have libraries with the most important threats, so you go through that first, and after that you can go through other threats that you can more based on your organization, your context, specific context, and then they understand. And then I often get the question, is it coming a Plot4AI just for any system, just for privacy?
Yes.
Because doing when you do update the privacy impact assessment, then you need to go, of course, also through threats from an application. And then you also need to think what can go wrong here. And it's a difficult process, especially if you don't have a tool that can help you to do that.
And because this, I consider that your tool is very, very, very important to the people who want to start with security by design in the software development life cycle or in the AI development, because you have think like steps that you need. Think about this threat or this risk potential problem, and thinking the solution. Avoid this, or build your AI system or software
Yeah,
that way.
yeah. Even in Plot4AI, you have, and I can show here in one of the cards, but I don't know if you can see it. It should be like the influencers doing like this with the hand behind. That you have the question, some information about the question, and
Yes.
it's yes or no. But when you turn the card, then you have recommendations. So these recommendations are based partly on my experience, but the big part is based on research papers and a lot of documentation from more than 200 resources that I've used and that I keep using for Plot4AI. And so all the references are in the website. So as like I always said, Plot4AI at least helps you to learn about AI. So even if you don't use it or you don't work yet with AI, probably you will in the future. You can learn a lot with this. You can understand what can go wrong. You can understand ways to solve it, and you will see that some threats are really much more specific from AI. A lot of them are really just general security threats that we often tend to forget, and any other type of threat. So 86 at this moment. I have 86 threats.
Oh,
And I'm
86.
going to include a few more in a couple of weeks. So
Because the technology is always changed, so the techniques to try exploit the security breach change too. So
yeah, especially the security threats are the ones I'm updating in a couple of weeks because there's a bit more clarity now. So when I published Plot4AI last year, some of the threats were still, like I said, most of the resources came from Microsoft. That they, well, I must say that their IE threat modeling team, they release quite good information, open source, so that's nice for the community. And they do their experiments in their labs, and they come up with research papers with certain vulnerabilities in AI systems. So those, it's good to have those things in account. But in let's call it maybe real life, we don't really have the expertise or even the resources to be doing these tests, or even to know how to prevent that. So now in this last year, there's much more information coming, much more granularity about certain attacks. You see in the security community, the awareness growing, red teams being formed, of course, especially in bigger companies. But you see more. If you are, for instance, a pen tester, you don't have knowledge of data science. You work together with the data science. If you see now more pen testers that are getting trained in data science because they want to get into that field too. So it's really interesting, really nice to see how the field is growing. For me, that I've been researching on that for years, I really see the development. And of course, not nice to see all what is coming in terms of threats and all the new threats, but good to see that the community is getting more mature, more aware of the threats.
So we are in the end of our webinar, and I will ask you for give some advice, some maybe try encourage people to learn about threat modeling, about the importance of the security for AI systems, because we talk about the AI systems have a real risks for the people. In the end, it's not just it's just a risk for the software. No, they means risk for the people, for the way that we live. Because in the end of the day, maybe you cannot have access to credit or a job or immigration or something else, because when AI systems are used and developed in the bad way and no one cares, and you don't have a good regulation or even don't have a regulation, because we see that Europe start the movement and United States follow, and Brazil try, and Brazil have Brazil have a problems with legislation. Okay, I am Brazilian, but sometimes I have shame the way they legislate in Brazil. But okay, but they try follow this movement. So this is a good movement.
Yeah, but I think we are all trying to find the right way. I mean, I know more or less what is happening in Brazil. Maybe it's at this moment high level, but you need to also adapt it to. Eventually, it's also a strategy, and it's difficult to find the balance between innovation that would also help the country. In Europe, it's the same. You don't want the old talent to go, because in Europe we cannot develop any more AI, so it's difficult to find the balance. How do you regulate something and still protect human rights? And so that's a struggle, and you see that the AI Act is not yet final. So I mean, it's because of all those things. It's not an easy task. My advice, if you, I would say, try to really advocate that a lot of things can go wrong, and that the security. I mean, I would say, forget about the hype of AI. Eventually, it's just a system with a lot of vulnerabilities, like any other, and we tend to forget about that. If you see, I mean, like you know how developer teams can work sometimes in some specific context. You know, there are computers, this, that, from my computer to theirs, sending data in that way. In when you work with AI, it's even worse. And this is maybe good for the innovation, for the motivation, for the spirit of the teams. But when you work in security, of course, I struggle to implement the right policies there, and the right access control, the right these tools, this scans, for instance, to check if there's any malicious code in your models before you move them. You are deploying it through the whole pipeline. So this really things that you can implement. So advocate to implement certain tooling, to have an overview of what is going on in your pipeline, to make sure that that there's a clear overview of what you have, and that with data governance. If you don't know what you have, like I said, then you don't know where your risks are. And not only that, maybe that's more from the part of security, data governance, but also when it comes to the discussions, the variables, the features, all these things that you want to use, think well on the implications that could have. So some data is really necessary, but it could have certain impact. So good thinking of if you are maybe not discriminating using certain attributes. So all this type of thinking needs to go through the whole development life cycle. And no matter which, I would say, no matter which position you have. So if you are a security person in your organization, open your mouth. Don't wait until there's an ethical, I don't know what. Some organizations have now an ethical, I don't know, chief ethics or whatever. There's different options. That doesn't matter. It should be inside of all of us. And something that, for instance, I like to do with data scientists is to force the power, empower them to know what is, to speak by themselves. I don't want to do this. This could discriminate. Well, these values are maybe not good. I'm not doing this. I mean, we tend to forget that sometimes in certain organizations they are the ones just doing what they've been told to do from a product owner, or sometimes you don't have. You just have to build, and you cannot say much more than that. Not in all the organizations, but in some are like that. So it's good to also empower everybody in the organization to have the ethical values and to align those ethical values to the whole organization. So it's a holistic approach, and no matter the role you have, keep advocating for doing the right thing from beginning to end.
So I need to say that thank you for your time, for your contribution with these discussions, with the questions. Maybe people don't understand that how it's important talk about the security inside the AI, because we have a real risks and impact, and the big challenges is we have a big challenge around the world, because how you said, Europe start a movement, but is not ended, because technology always change. So we have a challenge in Brazil, in United States, in Europe, in Asia. I see something in Singapore too. They create a movement. Yes, and we need, the importance is we need put together, give hands, and try develop this legislation, these rules, to try avoid bad AI, how we said, like a bad AI. We need
legislation is important, especially because not everybody's gonna do the right thing. So
I usually say that people not we have I said one thing in Brazil, but I'm not sure if I translate you will understand, but I will try. Usually I said that we need laws because the humans, not some kinds of humans, not born with good sense. If everybody have good sense, you don't need laws, because people have good sense. But good sense, or the fairness, the justice feel, sometimes people don't have. You need have the law to apply this, to enforce this, because people,
we shouldn't look at it as something bad. I think regulation can be good to bring some structure, order, and to protect us. That's why it's there. Most of the regulations, of course, maybe not all of them, but still, I think one of the main issues is enforcement. I mean, it's like with privacy or the GDPR. You have the regulation, course, some things you can interpret differently, but still, without a lot of enforcement, you see still, like we were talking about the cookies, companies keep doing what they want. So we still feel unprotected. And maybe it's good to have awareness that everybody understands. I think if we don't complain, like if you see the amount of startups building AI systems, that eventually they're going to be high risk, because that is something I see, especially I see in the Dutch market, for instance. I see that happening, and I think, well, I wonder in 1 year if this is still going to be there, or at least it will have to change some things in the company. But yeah, eventually, if you don't complain, I think it's important, like when you are purchasing some third-party AI system, to do your assessment, to check and say, well, how are you doing this? To request to third parties also to show that they're accountable, that they're really doing work. If we don't do that, then it keeps going on like it is now. Nobody really solves the problem. So I think it should be part of all of us also complaining. Like, yeah, I think it's the only way. Keep complaining, maybe not knowing that the authorities are not going to help us all the time, because they don't, of course, they are not everywhere. There's so many resources they don't have. But I think if clients, customers start also complaining, start requesting more quality, more transparency, eventually companies also realize, well, I need to change. That's what the market is requesting. And I think that's one way to start changing a bit. And that requires awareness, requires that we all understand what can go wrong. So that brings me back to threat modeling again, to really think what can go wrong and how can I solve this.
Okay, thank you. I need to give some notes here. First, I need to give you our special thank you for your time, for your contribution, for your participation with us. And I need give some words in Portuguese, okay? To finish. All right.
Of course.
Pessoal, obrigado. Eu agradeço a quem nos acompanhou. Para quem vai ficar disponível no YouTube, se vocês tiverem dúvidas do que a gente falou aqui, por causa da linguagem, né, do inglês e etc., alguma questão técnica, vocês podem me procurar, podem deixar comentários no vídeo, pode procurar no LinkedIn, e a gente vai procurar tirar essas dúvidas e encaminhar. Eu recomendo vocês procurarem a ferramenta da Isabel. Como ela falou, é gratuita, a Plot AI é gratuita, e vocês podem acessar, é um baseline para começar a colocar segurança, modelar ameaça para IA, tá bom? Eu quero agradecer ao pessoal da ONCE, que me ajudou bastante na divulgação, a comunidade que eu faço parte como mentor e voluntária ONCE, a comunidade que eu faço parte como mentor e voluntária Cyber Security Girls, ao IBRASPD, o instituto no qual eu sou vice-presidente, as minhas companheiras de comunidade do FEMIT, muito obrigado, e a todo o nosso público vai ficar aí disponível, e estamos disponíveis para dúvidas depois. Quem assistir, quem quiser trocar uma dúvida, pode procurar eu, pode procurar a Isabel no LinkedIn. We give...
I understood.
Goodbye.
Muito obrigada.
I give some thanks for the ONCE people.
I really understood everything.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, people.
Bye.